and thank you for joining us on Future TV. I'm Linda Tamim, and these are today's top stories. Gunmen and demonstrators take to the streets in Tripoli as anger boils over at Hezbollah's role in helping the Syrian regime retake the town of Qusair. The U.S. condemns the assault on Qusair by Syrian government forces. And Arab foreign ministers call for a political solution to the Syrian crisis. Masked gunmen and demonstrators took to the streets in Tripoli, blocking roads and forcing shop owners to close their businesses as anger boiled over Hezbollah's role in helping the Syrian regime retake the town of Qusair. Gunmen in the northern city forced owners to close down shops in Tripoli's Old Souk area, while demonstrators blocked roads across the city with burning tires. The protesters blocked the Abu Ali roundabout and other roads, as gunmen deployed in different areas in downtown Tripoli and Al Noor Square at the city's entrance. In remarks published in Al Hayat Daily, Prime Minister Najib Mikati said that the Lebanese army will act forcefully against fighters in Tripoli because the residents of the city have the right to live in peace. UN Special Coordinator for Lebanon, Derek Plumey, has traveled to Tripoli today, where he held meetings with MPs, security officials, and cabinet members from the violence-stricken city. A statement released by his office says Plumey stressed the importance of stopping the cycle of violence in order to safeguard stability. He also reiterated his support for the Lebanese security forces in order to allow them to complete their mission. Plumey added that he will hold meetings with members of civil society in Tripoli. Security incidents continued in Tripoli amid raids conducted by Lebanese armed forces, which announced it is seeking to intervene with all power and determination to put an end to violence engulfing the city. State Prosecutor Hatem Mahdi has asked the Justice Ministry to strip MP Mohamed Kabara of his parliamentary immunity, a day after President Michel Sleiman called for the Tripoli lawmaker to be charged for instigating violence. A judicial source said Mahdi submitted the request to Justice Minister Shakib Kodbawi, who will in turn refer it to Parliament. The President asked the prosecutor's office Wednesday to press charges against Tripoli MP Mohamed Kabara for being complicit in instigating violence in Tripoli. The move came in reaction to a statement read by Kabara following a meeting of Tripoli's politicians and religious figures at his residence. The statement accused the President and the army of providing political cover to the pro-Syrian regime Arab Democratic Party. Saudi Arabia has urged Lebanon's people to act wisely and end their fighting in the city of Tripoli, racked by a wave of bloody violence linked to this conflict in neighboring Syria. Foreign Minister Prince Saud Al Faisal said Riyadh was following with deep concern the bloody events taking place in Tripoli that benefit nobody but those who do not mean well for Lebanon and its people. Prince Saud said his country urges all parties involved to put an end to this fighting and act wisely. He voiced the kingdom's support for strengthening the authority of the Lebanese state and its control over all its territories. The minister added that Riyadh affirmed its confidence in the Lebanese government's keenness to take all measures that would preserve security and stability for the Lebanese people in all their sects and beliefs. The Army Command says that 2 gunmen, a Lebanese and a Syrian, have been killed during a clash with soldiers in a border town in northeast Lebanon. The military said in a communique that on Wednesday night, a group of armed men riding a pickup truck clashed with the troops after attacking their checkpoint in the area of Wadi Ahmed, in the outskirts of Arsel. 2 of the assailants were killed, while the rest were able to escape. The source said another armed group attacked the same members of the checkpoint, but the assault caused no casualties. The soldiers were able to seize the pickup truck along with the weapons and ammunition that the gunmen were transporting. On Wednesday, State Commissioner to the Military Court Judge Sair charged 3 people for killing Lebanese soldiers at the same checkpoint last month. The Syrian army has bombarded a village where rebels and civilians fled to after being routed the previous day from the border town of Qusair. This is according to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, which says the army is using missiles to bombard eastern Raqqa, where at least 500 people have fled since the start of a devastating assault on Qusair. Sources say Qusair is completely destroyed and totally deserted, although the regime has called on Qusair's residents to return home. They added the rebels put up a fierce resistance, but they didn't have the means to fight back because of poor equipment. The rebels held onto Qusair for a year before being ousted on Wednesday. The U.S. has condemned the assault on Qusair by Syrian government forces as celebrations erupted over the routing of rebels who have been battling for control of the southwestern city. Washington has accused the government of President Bashar al-Assad of having relied on Hezbollah fighters from neighboring Lebanon to win the battle for the strategic area. On Wednesday, Iran congratulated the Syrian government on its victory, with Foreign Minister Hussein Amir Abdullahian calling the rebels terrorists. Syrian troops routed the rebels in Qusair following a devastating 17-day assault that had left many civilians trapped in the town with no access to water and electricity. White House spokesman Jay Carney renewed a call for Hezbollah and Iran to withdraw their fighters from Syria. Arab foreign ministers have also condemned the assault on Qusair and have called for a political solution to the Syrian crisis. The delegation urged the formation of a transitional government with full executive power to lead the unrest-torn country. The meeting also aimed at discussing the preparations for the International Geneva Conference on Syria, for which no exact date has been fixed. Arab League Chief Nabil al-Arabi stressed the importance of continuing the efforts to hold the Geneva Conference, adding that a preparatory meeting should be held by the end of June. A resolution issued after the meeting of Arab League foreign ministers in Cairo said a political solution is the only way to rescue Syria, and expressed concern over the impact of armed conflicts on civilians in the country. On another note, the UN and Arab League envoy for Syria, Lakhdar Brahimi, said that it is not possible for Geneva Conference to be held in June.
Americans and the Russians have agreed in Moscow on the 7th of May, and everybody has supported that. And the Syrian sides expressed their interest in this, is to get the Syrian sides without preconditions to see how they can implement the communique of the 30th of June. This is what it is all about. And the Syrian sides are not ready, so it's not a sticking point on the room above.
Al-Qaeda leader Ayman al-Zawahri has urged Syrians to unite to bring down President Bashar al-Assad and thwart what he said were U.S. plans to use their cause to confront Iran and set up a client state in Syria to safeguard Israel's security. In a newly released audio message posted on Islamist websites, Zawahri also said the only way to solve the Palestinian problem was through holy war. The Al-Qaeda leader warned Syrian rebels that their cause should not be hijacked in the West in their confrontation with Tehran, but went on to criticize Iran's expansionist policies in the region. Zawahri, an Egyptian-born preacher who became Al-Qaeda's chief after Osama bin Laden was killed in a U.S. operation in 2011, also called on opposition fighters to unite around the aim of establishing an Islamist state in Syria. Coming up next, the Florida lottery reveals the winner of last month's record $590.5 million jackpot. That and more after the break. Welcome back. Syrian regime forces have retaken the only crossing along the Israel-Syria ceasefire line in the Golan Heights after it was seized earlier by rebels. The Israeli military had closed off the area earlier after fighting between the Syrian army and rebels fighting to overthrow President Bashar al-Assad. Rebels have seized a UN manned border crossing on the demilitarized zone linking Israel and Syria after heavy clashes between the opposition and regime forces. Sources say 2 Syrians have been evacuated from the area and 2 shells fell inside Israeli-held territory in the Golan. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said that fighting was raging in several areas in the Golan Heights. They added Israel is worried that the Golan, which it had captured from Syria in 1967, will become a springboard for attacks on Israelis by jihadi fighters who are taking part in the armed struggle against Assad. We have to cut this short now as we go live to Muhammad Kabara, who's about to speak.
عقد اللقاء الوطني الإسلامي اجتماعا بمشاركة كل أعضائه حيث جرى البحث في المستجدات الأمنية في طرابلس، وأصدر المجتمعون بيانا جاء فيه أولا التأكيد على ما جاء في البيان السابق للقاء الوطني الإسلامي ودعوة السلطة السياسية والدولة وقيادة الجيش إلى إثبات حرصهم على أمن طرابلس وسلامة أبنائها وإعادة الحياة الطبيعية إليها. ثانيا إن اجتماعات اللقاء ما زالت مفتوحة، وهو يراقب بجدية تطبيق الخطة الأمنية، لا سيما لجهة قمع ارتكابات المجموعة المسلحة في بعل محسن لمصلحة النظامين السوري والإيراني وتهديدها المستمر لأمن المدينة. ثالثا، مطالبة الجيش اللبناني استكمال خطته الأمنية ومناشدة أبناء طرابلس عدم إفساح المجال أمام المصطادين بالماء العكر الذين يحاولون جر المدينة إلى الفتنة وتعميم حالة الفوضى على شوارع المدينة، مع التشدد على ضرورة أن تكون إجراءات الجيش اللبناني متوازنة وعادلة وتطبيق القوانين بشفافية كاملة ومن دون تمييز، والطلب من القوى الأمن الداخلي القيام بواجباتها في شوارع طرابلس الداخلية ومساندة الجيش في تطبيق الخطة الأمنية. وشكرا.
يعني ابو العبد، شو سرعه يعني اللي صار بالبلد اليوم؟ كان في سرعه بالفلاتين الامني وما قدر حدا ضبط الوضع لاكثر من 3-4 ساعات ونزلوا المسلحين وكانه ما في دوريه بالبلد. شو هي الاسباب اللي خلت هالفلاتين الامني بسرعه يتدهور؟
هلا اللي بيهمنا نحن انه الامن رجع عم يستتب، والامور رجعت ابتدات بالرجوع لحالتها الطبيعيه، ونحن بنأكد على أمن المدينة واستقرار المدينة وأمن الناس وحياة الناس واقتصاد المدينة وتجارتها، وبنطالب بنرجع بنقول المصطادين بالماء العكر لظهور المدينة بموضع وكأنه كأنه المدينة خارجة عن القانون. هذا كلام غير صحيح.
مين عم تتهموا يعني؟
بلا
ساعة النهاية مين عم تتهموا بالاصطياد بالمياه العكرة؟ مين عم تتهموا؟
هلا بعض المجموعات اللي ما لها مصلحة انه الوضع الامني يكون مستتب، وبعدين يعني اكيد اليوم المجموعات المسلحه التابعه للنظام السوري ولحزب الله هي ما بدها يصير في امن بالمدينه وما بدها يصير في استقرار، وبعدها عم تحول كل ما بتتجه الامور الى التهدئه يخلوا اجواء بلبله ويرجوا المدينه انه خارجه عن القانون والدوله، وكأنه نحن ما بدنا الدولة وما بدنا الجيش اللبناني وما بدنا الأجهزة الأمنية. نحن بدنا نأكد أنه نحن خيارنا الدولة والمؤسسات والجيش اللبناني والقوى الأمنية أن تقوم بدورها، ولكن بعدالة وشفافية دون تمييز بين منطقة وأخرى. هذا مطلبنا، وهذا مفروض الخطة الأمنية تطبق على هذا الأساس. شكرا.
Welcome back. Turkish Prime Minister Tayyip Erdogan met his Tunisian counterpart Ali Laraide during his North African tour as protests against his rule continued back home. Erdogan is expected to return later today from the North Africa trip aimed at pushing Turkish business interests in his region. His government has faced days of unprecedented protests and riots sparked by construction plans on an Istanbul park. Protests have been held in dozens of Turkish cities over what protesters say is Erdogan's authoritarianism, with many calling for his resignation. Yesterday, riot police dispersed protesters, mostly workers and union members, demonstrating against the government in Ankara by firing smoke grenades. South Korea proposes to hold a ministerial-level talk in Seoul on June the 12th and asks to restore communication channels to the north. Earlier today, North Korea proposed official talks with South Korea to normalize commercial projects, including the Kaesong Industrial Zone that was shut down at the height of tensions between the rivals in early April. North Korea's news agency also said the government will restore severe communication channels if the South accepted the offer to talks. South Korea had previously proposed to hold talks with the North on reopening the joint industrial zone, but Seoul had been reluctant to link those talks with the summit commemoration, saying Pyongyang will try to use them for propaganda. This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our headlines. Gunmen and demonstrators take to the streets in Tripoli as anger boils over at Hezbollah's role in helping the Syrian regime retake the town of Qusair. The U.S. condemns the assault on Qusair by Syrian government forces. Finally, Arab foreign ministers call for a political solution to the Syrian crisis. That's it from me and the news team here at Future TV. Catch me again tomorrow, same time, for more of the world's top stories. Have a great evening.